the Brave here, back with another deck guide for you, and today we are going to be diving into one of my first Adepta Sororitas guides, and especially since the very recent balance change, which saw Sisters get a whole handful of buffs. I'll be doing all sorts of reviews on cards and impressions on that, so go and check out my channel if you want to go and see that. But today I actually want to bring you a proper deck guide because I really do feel that this Penitence control is pretty good right now, and definitely the most powerful of the Sisters builds that I've certainly tinkered with, and I've tried quite a few different things. I will be bringing guides for the other two sisters, the other warlords as well, and that will follow soon. But for now, we're going to jump into Penitence Control. Just before we do, just to say, on the 8th of June, if you didn't know, I'm going to be running a 12-hour celebration live stream, and that's going to be on Twitch and YouTube. And basically what I'm doing is just celebrating the fact that we've had a fun time of the last year, getting to 1,000 subscribers. So thanks to all you guys. Really enjoyed making content for you, and it's just a chance to hang out and have some fun. So EG are helping with the stream in terms of providing some booster packs and stuff. So we're going to do all sorts of like giveaways. So definitely come and check it out. I'm not expecting everyone to be there for 12 hours, but here's a list of activity that is going to be going on throughout the day. Lots of guests dropping in, lots of show matches and conversations and deck builds and all sorts going on. So yeah, it'll be really fun to hang out and chat, and hopefully see you there. Right, so back to our Penitence control deck. So first of all, let's take a look at the deck itself. Now, obviously, Morvenn Vahl, first of all, is the legendary warlord for the Adepta Sororitas, and the big deal there is that she comes with 40 health. And I've probably said it before, but honestly, guys, I can't undersell how important and how much of a difference it is having 40 health over 35, particularly in a control type build. When you are considering playing a 35 health warlord, you've got to have a really solid argument for why why it's better than the 40. So that's one of the big things with Morvenn. Now the other thing is that Morvenn has the ability to still deal damage when she prays, and that's actually huge because in Warpforge, as you know, every single turn there's back and forth, you're trying to trade, you're trying to fight for board. If you take a turn off from that trading because you're praying, you are sometimes falling behind in that trade war. And Morvenn Vahl is quite unique, and I really like her ability because being able to deal the damage for praying is actually super powerful. And the deal 1 damage also, because this is a penitence build, obviously has lots of synergy with damaging our own units. More on that later. So we do run double Devout Warriors because this is a control build, so we are looking to get resources in hand, right? And it's a nice cheap way of doing it. The 3 faith is not too difficult to achieve anymore. It's definitely a lot easier to build faith, although this build doesn't rely too much on high levels of faith, but we can definitely get that, and especially because we are playing the Relics of St. Katherine. So Relics of St. Katherine mean that if we do need that high levels of faith, remember you need 8 faith to be able to basically do anything. Once you've got 8 faith, you can do every ability in the faction. So the relics basically help us do that, and they've made this card cheaper, and I think 4 is about right for this, and I'm kind of enjoying using it now. Now we do run the Arco-flagellants, and the Arco-flagellants has so many synergies in this deck, it's unbelievable. So what we might do is come back to some of the combos, but actually we'll talk about them as we go, otherwise we'll be here all day. So the Mortifier we do run at the top end, which basically deals 2 damage to the enemy warlord, so we can kind of synergize that with the Arco-flagellant. We can obviously use Morvenn Vahl's ability to kind of trigger Arco-flagellant to get an extra ping, then Flagellant can attack, and if Mortifier's on the board, that's all dealing damage to the enemy warlord. So we can have some real burst damage finishes and also some real clever board clears with this deck. Now I do run and just to finish that, sorry, we do run a single Spirit of the Martyr. You could run 2, but I found 1. I think this is a very good card, by the way. I think it's very powerful, but it does take a little bit of setup. So I'm kind of happy with 1 at the minute, but I may be, depending on experience, I may go back to 2 eventually. But again, also has fantastic synergy with things like the Arco-flagellant and things like the Mortifier as well, to pull off some really crazy combos. Now the Crusader is really is a flex spot in the deck. I'm actually starting to come round to the idea of running Crusaders in the just as standard, just as the 2-drops in the deck, rather than relying on pulling them from like the Preacher, for example. And that's just because the 3 faith is much easier to get now, and playing this for 2 really is like insanely good value for 2 energy. Like it's just absolutely broken. If you guarantee that 3 faith, like what you're getting for 2 energy is insane. Now I have run the 6-drop Vanguard in this flex spot place, and I've also tried running the 9-drop legendary St. Celestine, and you could also run the 2nd Spirit of the Martyr that we just talked about. You could also run, because I run a single Preacher, you could also run a 2nd Preacher in its place. But I'm kind of like having the guarantee Vanguard, a guarantee Vanguard at some point in the game, and that's what the Crusader is. So I'm currently one of those, but that is definitely the main flex spot in the deck. Now we do run double prayer, because I think this faction kind of, there's not really a reason to ever not play this. It's a really good way of getting that early faith, and now that there's so many units that really go off on just 2 points of faith or 3 points of faith, this combo is a fantastic start to the game. Obviously if you're going 2nd, you could take the defense stratagem that gives +1 faith as well, and that could easily mean that you end up with 3 faith after the very first turn. Don't be too greedy though with the faith. Don't forget that it still gives shield, so there are turns in the game where you might have a Mortifier down, and it's actually just correct to slap a shield on that and get a really big trade as well. Now the Preacher is a very good 2-drop. I usually run 2, but in this particular deck I'm finding it like I'm happy to run just a single 1, to be honest. It's really good late game if we've obviously got the 5 faith, but it is also quite a nice to have like as a proactive kind of 2-drop on the first turn if you need it. Not quite as good as like in Erika decks, where obviously you can buff its health as well, but the three still, if you're praying, it usually is enough to kind of stop them from hitting your Warlord as well, which could obviously then generate prayer. So a single Preacher works pretty well for me. Now the Amalia is a fantastic 3-drop legendary. It's one of my favourite legendaries card. I absolutely love it. And sometimes it's just correct to just play it on 3 and do nothing. If you are kind of in a tempo, against a tempo deck, and you kind of just need to keep up. Because ultimately as a control deck you will outlast those decks, so sometimes it's correct to do that. Obviously though, if you are playing this for value, you can get it can be insane, and especially because we're running the relics. I've had this thing do like 10 damage, so it's an insane value and brilliant hard removal, which we don't have tons of in the faction, so Amalia is like critical. Now the Sister Repentia, these are also like, I'm kind of like just testing these at the minute. These are something that could go, but I do like the threat that they give us on turn 2 of also being able to potentially gain 1 faith. I have had games though where I found like our opponent can obviously go all out to sort of clear them, the range damage. So outside of the flex spot that I told you about, these would probably be the next thing that I'd be considering changing if I wanted to test different cards. But right now I'm kind of happy with having those there on turn 3. Now the turn 4 we obviously run the double cleansing flames, because this is a control deck and this card is absolutely amazing, definitely an S tier mini AoE. Then we run the Hallowed Martyrs, and again, with this being a Penitence control, this card has some fantastic synergies, right? Like just being able to attack with your Warlord. Just remember, you do have to actually take damage with your Warlord for that to trigger. But really nice way of poking enemy units, and also in the mirror match can have insane synergies when you've got Mortifier down. You might see some of that in the gameplay following this breakdown. Then we run the relics, which I've already said. Now I feel like they're more reasonable. Like to lose that tempo of playing one, it feels a bit more reasonable, and obviously it brings online things like Divine Intervention for that massive AoE clear, and things like Amalia doing big damage as well. They're really the only sort of big spenders though, so you know, again, like you could definitely cut one relic. I play two because I just kind of like the consistency. It's not because I'm expecting to play two all the time. It's more because I will consistently get to play one at around the point in the game where I want to play it. So that's my argument for running two. People always misunderstand that when the deck building. People always think it's about how many you want to play, but you've got to think you've got 30 cards. How many games do you see all those cards? Playing two is to kind of actually improve consistency. If it's a card that you want in the first 10 turns of a game, then often you should play two of them. Whereas a warlord like Orkz, for example, is really interesting because the fact that he can dig in and kind of choose, I feel like he's the kind of warlord where he can get away with a lot more one-offs. But you know, all that said, like because we only run a few cards that rely on those big controls, you could get away with just a single one if you wanted to test that. Now I do run the Retributor. Retributor I think is very, very good now. I think this card is a really great card. I'm really happy with this card. Again, looking at the kind of spots and the flex spots, this might be one of the cards that I'd want to put a second one in if I was going to drop something else. But I'm also conscious of the curve, and we've got quite a lot of 4-drops already, so kind of got to bear that in mind. That's the main reason why I've only got one. Seraphim is kind of like, not very sexy, but it is good, and the fact that it's gained flank now as standard is a massive improvement to the card. I think this card is good now. Obviously, if you've got the 3 faith, then you get the 5 range, 5 health, which is superb. So overall, I'm really happy with Seraphim, and being a control deck, you need those flankers. Aestred, just because it's just such a good card, it's like you just can't really find a reason to not play it. It's just a nice sort of like decent mid-range body. It's not always going to go off. Sometimes you're just going to play it as a body to trade, but it's even in this deck where it's not like necessarily full of synergy, it's still a really good card, so we run that. Divine Intervention we've already talked about. Don't be scared to just deal with a really big unit, but if you are in a game that is threatening to go long, then just holding this back can be really, really scary for your opponent, because you can actually get that 8 faith in this deck, and it will really make your opponent think about overcommitting, and then that plays into your hands because you want the game to go slow anyway. So just the threat of Divine Intervention is, once you get 8 faith up, like, you will see your opponents play very differently, and that plays into your advantage. Now the Dominion Superior is just an all-round solid kind of mid-game card. You know, it's really easy to kind of get this extra damage, so doing 2 points damage, it just helps you chip away at the board. And also we can play this, you know, into our own units if we need to trigger Penitent, and because it deals 1 and then 1 again rather than dealing just 2, that means we get double triggers on Penitent, so really nice synergy there. Now we do run the Penitent Engines because I think this card is, with Vahl in particular, this is like an S tier card. Like you pray, ping this unit, and then off you go with your not just your flank but your blast. You can even use Vahl's talent to give it +1/+1 if you need the extra damage. It's just an all-round super solid card. And then we run the Zephyrims because, again, flank, and it's a control deck. And then the Mortifier. Now the Mortifier is superb. I'm not actually running Celestine in this deck, and you could run Celestine, but I actually think the Mortifier is better in this deck over Celestine, to be quite honest. Celestine is a little bit slow. Obviously it's powerful at being invulnerable and everything, but you know, it does nothing on the turn. It comes down, it's just invulnerable, and the next turn it's just a kind of 7 body, which is, you know, by no means not a threat. It's definitely a good thing, but I find the Mortifier is like way more synergistic and powerful in this deck, and Celestine is better when you're going to run the 4-drop that recently got buffed, which is the Dialogus. I think this card here, when you run 2 of these in the deck, you drop Celestine, and then you put Vanguard on it and have an invulnerable Vanguard, which is a crazy combo. So yeah, I don't actually run that in this deck, and I go with a Mortifier as the top end. So that's the deck. So I'm going to just show you a couple of games, and then we'll jump into a couple of live matches as well. So let's just have a quick look at the battle log. So I'll show you, let's have a look at this game against Ecclesiarch first of all. This is the mirror match, and kind of highlights the fact that I feel like more than just... One of the problems with Erika is that I feel like she's unfavored against the other two sisters warlords. So anyway, we decide to just go with curve here and keep the Repentia and the Seraphim. I will kind of fast forward just to skip on a little bit through the slow part, so we get through these bits a bit quicker. So all we do on the first turn, obviously, is just pray and ping, and that's the other thing. Like when she prays, she gives health. When we pray, we can disrupt her pray without having to actually attack, and that's a super powerful element of this particular matchup. Now he does actually play the buff on this, so we can't deal with it. So we just play on tempo, and sometimes we get overzealous about clearing, and sometimes this is like the correct thing to do. So we obviously disrupt his prayer, and we just drop this. Now he's obviously going to go in and he's going to do everything he can to just kind of like deal with this, and that means that he plays the talent for 2. Now I don't know if he had a unit there, but basically what that means is that he has cleared it for free, but he hasn't developed the board, and we knew we had Seraphim here, which could come and take this out almost for free. So we can now Seraphim, and then we can kind of pray and just basically clear, and this really gives us early kind of control on the board, which is great. He disrupts the prayer, and he goes for the relic. Now we could go with relic here as well and say, okay, you took the tempo off, we took the tempo off, but instead what I chose to do is go down a different line of play, which is to kind of punish his tempo loss, put these on the board, and play this next turn, right? That's like the idea. We'll have to see what he's got. Okay, he has got the Cleansing Flames, which is nice here. He disrupts the prayer, kills the Seraphim, and puts the pressure on this. But the difference now is that he had to spend all his energy on doing that. We can now play our tempo loss, gain faith, but because these two can just go into defense mode now and pray, they get the shields and the benefits, so we don't need to be proactive in developing, and we're still okay on board by doing this. So I think that line of play was definitely better than if I just mirrored him and kind of went for the, okay, you took the turn off, I'll take the turn off. Sometimes that is correct, but I think with what we had there, I think we chose the right line of play. Okay, so very focused on the removal, and that does give him the board. Obviously, we kind of took the turn off from developing last turn, but we are into turn 7. So there's a couple of options here. We just decide basically to make good use of the shield this turn. So we're going to ping with our Dominion Superior, and then we're going to use our Warlord power. And this is another thing. It's almost Gazgul Fraka style, right? Old talent where you get +1/+1. Very, very handy when you just need to tidy up the board. Now he is going to use his Amalia to get rid of that, so I'm kind of happy to see Amalia used there in this, because this is more like a control mirror. I feel like you should be trying to get... he did get good value from Amalia, don't get me wrong, but I kind of want to be trying to get more value in a control mirror. And we can kind of take this out fairly easy with our flanker, with the Penitent Engine. You just go into pray mode, ping this, and here we go. Yeah, I didn't really need to do that because I already had the 5. I'm not sure why I used the Warlord power. There was nothing else to do, basically. I don't know if there's an achievement you can unlock for like the amount of times you use your Warlord power. That's sometimes my thinking as to why I do that. It's not just like BMing people. I'm thinking about like the achievements and stuff. Yeah. Okay, so it's basically gonna pray. It's quite a good turn to do this, right? Because we don't have anything on board, so it's kind of like guaranteed getting it. Problem is, he's already got 11 faith, so I think that was a bit of a waste of a prayer there, because he's not in danger, and I think using the shield is more important when you've already got 11 faith. Like, what's the point in getting more faith? You don't need more than 8 faith, basically. It does nothing for you. Nothing that I'm aware of, anyway. Correct me in the comments if I'm missing something, but I don't think you need more than 8. Okay, so now we're going to go and say, okay, we're in a control mirror. Let's start playing that long game. Let's start playing for value here. So we put the pendants on. We've kind of got this weird thing, right, where we obviously, every time we trigger that, he does 2 damage to us, but that means then that we hit it back as well. So we're going to kind of use that as a board clear, if you like. So you've got to be careful, because that can work in his favor if we've got low health, But in that situation, it kind of worked in our favour because we're more interested in... We'll take some health damage because we're actually interested in clearing the board. Now he uses Rite of Restoration and he brings this back. Now I'm not playing Rite of Restoration right now because there's a bug and I just don't want to play with bugged cards. It will probably be fixed by the end of today, so that's another consideration for the flex spot. It probably would be a good idea to try and get that into the deck at some point, but I'm not going to entertain that well if the card is bugged. So again, we're going to basically have this seesaw effect where he does 2 damage to us, we do 1 damage back, and that's going to continue. I'm taking a lot of damage here, but I am actually clearing the board as well, and he's getting quite low on life, and we've got 2 units just sitting here ready to smack, so you know, we do that. Not only does it hit for 7, but obviously the extra 2, and then we just drop the Preacher. Attack, so now the pressure is on. Erika uses the second Cleansing Flames, quite nice there, good value, good turn to use that there, clearing off the engine and the Mortifier and the Amalia, so that's pretty cool. Now this next turn, there's quite a lot of different ways in which we could go about playing this. Given that we have shields up on both of them, and obviously we have this kind of flank 1 AoE damage to everything. So there's quite a few different ways that we could go about it. And we've also drawn the Retributor now, which does 3 damage. So we know that without the shield, that would clear. So we just attack, make use of the Hallowed Martyrs, that clears the shield. And then I think we just basically play this. And I don't know whether we like lost lethal there somehow. We possibly did, to be honest, because we could have like blasted. I think we could have just basically played the Penitent Engine and this, and basically we would have won the game there. But that's okay. I mean, like sometimes when you're in the moment and you're playing against the clock and everything, I think I was just in like super safe mode. Like I'm so in control of the match at this point that I'm not particularly worried about like missing lethal. I'm more worried about doing something where I could kind of like just lose the game. It's my game to lose at that point. So yeah, it's pretty tough, to be fair. Well played, Cleese. It's pretty tough though against when you're Erika against Vahl. To be honest, I was definitely favoured in the matchup from the beginning. Just sort of out control the Erika control build, to be honest. Okay, so we'll watch one more, and then we're just going to basically jump into a couple of live games as well. This one's against Calgar. Now, we do keep 1 relic, but not 2, because this, if it was a controlled match, then we would, but with Calgar, we're never sure what type of Calgar it is at the minute, because there's multiple viable decks, but I always assume it's the fast Calgar, because if you do that, you can't get caught out. So having 2 cards that sacrifice tempo against fast Calgar just wouldn't be a good idea. So we're basically just going to keep the 1. Okay, so we're just going to pray, not a lot going on here, and he drops the Stern Guard Sergeant. So here's an example. Actually, I kind of mess up a little bit here. I should play this first, the Sacred Altar, and that would obviously give me 1 damage. But I mean, I was really playing Amalia just as a tempo play here anyway, and I was always going to ping and pray there. So it doesn't actually make too big of a difference, but obviously it would have stopped the option of if he wanted to trade with my face, then he would have died, right? Because he'd be on 2. But as it is, he uses it to actually clear Amalia, so we weren't punished for that, but it was a minor mistake for sure. Okay, so we're gonna obviously choose now. Do we play for board control or do we play for faith? And we go for the board control, because again, I'm still conscious that this could be kind of like fast Calgar. He's played nicely on tempo at the minute, so I really want to try and wrestle with the board early on. I'm not quite comfortable dropping the Relic of St. Katherine. When you play this as well, you have to think about like how could you come back next turn, right? He's going to go further ahead, so how could you come back? Whereas like here, we would have been really in a lot of trouble. Whereas like if we played it on this turn, obviously we have things like a flanker, for example, next turn. So that's what I mean by how how can you come back on board next turn? Okay, so can he trigger Codex and stun Vahl again? Stunning Vahl is very powerful. Gordrang is a real problem for the same reason, because you can't pray when you're stunned. So it really does handcuff us, but fortunately, because we did attack this and put it down to 3, the thinking was that next turn, we were thinking ahead there that Seraphim could obviously trade with the range damage. So we're starting to kind of like claw back a little bit here, but then, you know, again, he keeps up with the tempo. As a played veteran. Now, I think I was umming and ahhing about several different ways of playing this, potentially even using this card, but in the end, we just went with a Penitence and we just kind of pinged. The flyer and said, well, you know, we kind of both got a big body, but my body's slightly bigger than yours. He actually goes for the punish to get rid of the prey and put the damage on, and then he uses his flanker to remove this. So hits us with the Inceptor Sergeant. Obviously that's 2 damage going to face. He's got 2 energy left, and he hits us with the Primaris Reaver. That's another 2 energy going to go to face. So he's paying a lot in order for this to live. He does get the Codex, so it heals, so that is nice, but look at how much damage that's cost him. I'm not sure. I get his line of thinking there, but I'm not sure that that was the correct play there to do that. I think he just sacrificed just a little bit too much. And we're going to just kind of go, okay, well, we'll repeat the process, because, you know, you obviously didn't have the hard removal. And this is really costing you. I can ping that and pray. If you want to hit me again, I mean, you're losing that race, mate. So now he's like, okay, I'm going to have to change tact. But it's almost like kind of too late, though, now, right? Because it's like, well, you're already down to 6 health. Now he has got the 1. Can he trigger Codex and get the heal on this? I imagine that that is his plan here. Free drop. Doesn't have it. And here we just play the good combo where you play the Flagellant. We've already got him down to 1 there, so that means that the Martyr will trigger 3 times, because that's a 1 drop. Then we've got a 2 drop, so that's the second turn. It'll trigger a 3rd time, and each time that's obviously a 3 damage, but then 3 from the Flagellant as well, doing the AoE. So just a really, really nice combo there. All right, let's jump into another live game for you. Let's just check that. Yeah, let's just check we don't have bots on. I think Acid Rain is probably going to help us, right? And this is Putis, guys, who is currently rank 1 on the ladder. He came 2nd last season, and he's basically rank 1 right now. Playing Tervigon. Very, very interesting. So we do really need to deal with that, so I'm going to just play this, and we're going to just attack here. No, we're not, because I've just remembered we've got Acid Rain on. So this is where the Acid Rain really comes in, because we can still actually pray. Perfect. And if he just attacks with range damage here, even though we're vulnerable too, it does put us down to 1 health, so this thing will survive. By the way, this says when the unit kills an enemy now, you gain a faith, even if you die, right? So It's pretty good. Although he does have the range flanker, so he can take this out nicely. Okay, so we can just kind of like play this. Just hit this guy with a range damage. And again, because of the vulnerable, kind of back to where we were last turn. Obviously, we're not praying this turn. Okay, don't know whether this has had enough or if he's just had a bit of a... It's like he's just having a bit of a connection issue. I've had quite a lot of those today actually, I'm not really sure what's going on. It's not great because he's really disrupted us there. I really wanted to play our 5-drop there on curve, so if nothing else, he's achieved a really good disruption there. And this obviously also disrupts our prayer, so it's actually not good for us, but he was clearly trying to set something up too. But it has given him control of the board, so I'm not actually too happy about that turn, to be honest. Very well played by him. Like, love to see his okay. Yeah. And this is actually quite a bit of an issue for us because we're going to have to just take the draw. We're a bit like low on cards here. We do struggle with these high health units. If I just attack, it's a real shame here. I can't actually attack and play the Mortifier. Right? Because I'm only going to do 1 damage and then the Vulnerable's going to do 1 and he'll still be on 1. This hurts us a little bit. I think we're going to take the turn off here and get the faith. Again, both points where I've had an option to play a good unit and take proactive board have kind of backfired. What it has done though, it has put Amalia to play for us, so that at least is good. definitely need to clear that. I'm also going to play this and develop it because I really want to try and get ahead on board for the first time in the game. Oh, very nice. Yeah, the AoE really doing its thing there. Does he attack with the Stealer? Does he have stealth? Okay, so we're on board now finally with the Mortifier. We also have this online, right? So now, like, if he does develop a very crazy board, we are somewhat safe. Ah, okay, nice. That's his second. This guy's fantastic late game. Yeah, it really hurts. Can just ping this though with the, and I think that this flanker should be able to deal with this because he can only develop what, 3? Oh, he stealths though. Okay, so he's setting up lethal. Oh, we've got it! Okay, this is the most clutch Retributor of all time, boys. You ready for this? Whew! Yeah, that was pretty clutch. I mean, we would have had to use this, I think, next turn because he would have had an insane unit smacking us in the face. So, question is does he? It's going to be a removal turn, or is he going to try and build the board? I mean, if he doesn't clear these 2 units, and he doesn't have Vanguard, we have got lethal, right? Oh, wait a minute. Vulnerable's not a thing. We get +1 from our power, so we'd have 3, 7, 10. Oh, so maybe not. Maybe not, actually. Ah, I played Overwhelming Swarm. Yeah, so this is definitely going to be a destroy everything. Destroy everything and let's go. Okay. Yeah. Okay. GG Pootis. So yeah, interesting. Pootis is playing Tervigon at top of the ladder, but I mean, you know, things lined up pretty well there. So yeah, so that is the deck, guys. I think this deck's pretty good right now. I mean, I don't think it's, you know, like tier 1, but it probably is like possibly, it probably is around tier 2 at the minute. This deck, I think it's definitely kind of quite a fun deck to use, and the Penitence thing actually, it does create some like crazy synergies and combos. Relics of St. Katherine really help now to get, as you just saw, like to sort of bring those divine interventions online. So I think this deck's pretty cool. Let me know in the comments what you think. Check it out. Don't forget, like, subscribe to the channel, and also, if I can remind you, the 8th of June we are going to be doing that celebration stream. So hopefully I will see you there. Till the next time, guys, take it easy, and hopefully see you Saturday. Ciao for now.